You're watching The Penny Hardaway Show, presented by Cook's Pest Control.
A week on the road in Orlando and Philly is in the books. We'll recap the games against UCF and Temple, share the incredible story of KO, and look ahead to a road and home week coming up. It's The Penny Hardaway Show. Let's go.
The game is on.
The Penny Hardaway Show is presented by Cook's Pest Control. You don't have to live with pests. Call Cook's Pest Control and get a free quote today. Conway Services, the official HVAC partner of Tiger Athletics. Tennessee Lottery, turning dollars into dreams. Tiger Bookstore, the official merchandiser of Tiger Athletics. AutoZone, when you've got car trouble, you want help from number one. So if you've got a battery problem, head to AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone. And is supported by your Memphis area Toyota dealers.
2 games on the road in Orlando, in Philly. That's a challenge for the Tigers. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Woloshin.
I'm Adam Field. Let's check out the highlights against UCF and Temple. Penny Hardaway back at his old stomping grounds in Orlando. Tigers taking on UCF. Tigers led by 11 with just over 5 minutes to play, but Ethel Horton drills the game-time triple. Knights erase a double-digit lead to send the game to overtime at 78 apiece. Kendrick Davis was superhuman. First OT period, tough shot counted and 1. Davis would hit the free throw. Tigers cut the lead to 2. 99-93 UCF, and Davis is our outstanding performer of the week for good reason. 42 points, the third time this century a Tiger has dropped 40-plus. Jeremiah Martin did it twice 4 seasons ago. That triple makes it a 3-point game. Now 99-98 UCF with just over a minute left. PJ Edwards drills a corner 3. Knights back up 4. A career high in points for Davis, not enough. Tigers fall in Orlando 107-104 in double overtime. Trying to rebound against Temple. No Alex Lomax in this one, out with a groin injury. Second half, this looked a lot like the South Florida game. Davis coming up with big steals to fuel Memphis. This one leads to an Elijah McCadden and 1. Tigers down by 3. 2.1 seconds left. And just give Kendrick Davis his second straight AAC Player of the Year award right now. He knocks down the impossible buzzer beater. 16 of his 20 points coming after halftime. Tigers escape Philly with a huge road win. 61-59 final.
Coach, we've talked about the influence that you've had from the NBA, and a lot of kids, when they talk to you in recruiting, they want you to be their connection to the NBA. Now you got a bunch of guys in the NBA. So do you keep up with them? How are they doing? Let's start with, say, Lester Quinones, who I guess was on a 2-way. How's he doing right now?
No, Lester's doing great, actually. You know, mentally it's tough because he left school early. He's not in the NBA, which was his dream. He wanted to leave to get to the NBA, so now he's in the G League. But he's doing actually well. This latest game, I think he had 37 points, 15 for 21 from the field. So I'm proud of that because he's showcasing his talent. So Lester's doing well.
Someone that's made an immediate impact is Jalen Duren with the Pistons. I think most NBA fans have figured out that he's a walking highlight reel. I'm sure you're not surprised by it, but what have you made from his acclimation into the league so far?
No, nothing that Jalen Duren does surprises me because he's willing to do whatever it takes for the team to win. He's selfless, you know, he's a total team guy. And I told Detroit before they drafted him that they were going to get a guy that was going to be willing to go out every single night. If you need him to get 20 rebounds, if you need him to be the voice on the back line, if you need him to set screens, you need him to run, he's going to do whatever it takes. He's a winner. One
of my favorite stories is Precious Achiuwa, because Precious would not have been taken when he was taken had James Wiseman stayed in school. He would not have gotten the minutes.
Right.
But you had to play him a lot, and now he has, before he got injured, I thought he had a chance to become one of the most improved players in the league.
Yeah, Precious was starting to become a great 2-way player. You know, he was finishing around the rim, and he was guarding the other team's best players. I remember in the playoffs a couple years ago, he was guarding Joel Embiid. Think about that.
Wow.
And that's a tall task for anyone to do, but that's how much they trust him, and that's how much he's getting better. He understands the game so much better now, and he's a true professional, and I talk to him a lot.
Did you think he would be this kind of player in the NBA?
I did. I called that because I could just tell his hunger and his passion for the game and his love for the game. He was always striving to be better every day, every game.
Someone he just hit on, James Wiseman, obviously you guys go back a long ways. What do you make of
where he's at with Golden State right now? Maybe do you think he'd do better with an opportunity elsewhere, just kind of where he's at in his career at the moment?
I think getting drafted by Golden State was a gift and a curse. I think the gift was being to be able to get to your dreams. The curse was you have to be ready right away. And James missed a year. And even though his offensive talents are really good, they ask you to play through like schemes. And when James was the first option for the last 10 years of his life, now they were saying he's going to be the fifth option. So mentally, that kind of bothered him a little bit, but he's still a warrior. I mean, as far as, obviously, no pun intended, but he's a guy that's going to go out and battle every single night. He's going back and forth now between the NBA and the G League, but he is going to be a star in the league. He's just kind of getting his footing right now with Golden State.
One of the other stories that I find intriguing, and we all know the NBA goes on upside, what they think you've got that could be great, and that's Josh Minot. I wasn't sure he would really get drafted based on what we saw in the 1 year, in particular shooting, but when you can jump like he can, it tells you something.
Yeah, Josh definitely got drafted off of potential. He spends one more year, he's lottery pick. I just really feel like that he is a great talent, athleticism, was going to learn the game more. We're starting to get better by the end of the year, but he was so anxious to get to his dream, and sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. But eventually, Josh Minot will be a superstar in the NBA. I can see that coming.
So last year, Duran, Minot, Lester, all on this team, now in some form or fashion in the NBA or affiliated with an NBA team. To have three guys on one team at that level right now, how special is that for you?
Now, it's special for me, it's special for the city, it's special for the school, because they came to play and put on a Memphis uniform. And, I'm forever grateful for those guys to choose our school.
Now let's talk about some of the guys you got now that want to be pros. Kendrick Davis, who is top 25 on the Wooden watch list. He's a small guy. Can he be an NBA guy? DeAndre Williams, who we know is older than most NBA draft experts like to take. What's their future as pros?
With Kendrick and DeAndre, they have to win. And when you win, they see the quality in who you are. They see your value. Not winning is not going to get it done. Those guys will still they'll have to go the Hardaway. It would be more difficult, but if we won, their talents would show, and I think someone would fall in love and say, hey, I know both of those guys' talents, first of all, they could play in the NBA. But if they win, then they have an opportunity to get drafted second round, be able to get a two-way and do things of that nature, which is what they ultimately want.
Obviously, your job is to bring home trophies and raise banners for this program, but how important is it for this program to be an NBA pipeline?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's as up there as, winning a national championship, because if you're getting pros in here, then that means that you're going to have an opportunity to win a national championship. And it's important for us to keep that pipeline going, because we want to be a school that puts out pros.
Yeah, I was curious if you still have that same sort of sense, because let's face it, with the assistants that you had in the past, you had Cody Topper, NBA guy. Mm-hmm. You had the greatest in Larry Brown. Mm-hmm. You had Rasheed Wallace for a little while.
Yep.
The replacements have not necessarily been that NBA connection.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still one of your things when you're selling to potential recruits?
Yeah, Dave, I'm the sale. Coming here, we're gonna teach you how to play an NBA style and get you to your dream. But with those guys being gone, it's still, I'm still here to represent the NBA.
You know what it takes.
When you
talk to recruits, what do you convey to them about what it takes?
They really want to know, can you develop them to get to the NBA? And I'm like, absolutely. I'm a developmental coach. They want to know what your style is. Our style is NBA as well. So both things, when they ask those two questions, we can fill those boxes saying yes.
With all due respect to every other player on this team, it's hard to imagine anyone has a crazier story of how they got here than KO. You won't want to miss it. That's coming up next.
You're watching The Penny Hardaway Show, presented by Cook's Pest Control.
Welcome back to The Penny Hardaway Show. The man simply known as KO on this year's team has overcome a lifetime's worth of adversity, from unimaginable tragedy at a young age to being completely out of basketball just a few years ago. It's almost hard to fathom how he got here.
KO's story begins in Nigeria, where day-to-day was a struggle.
We didn't have 24-hour electricity. Light might come on, 8-10 hours a day, like at some random time, so the people who could afford it had generators, were privileged enough to have generators to keep the food and stuff.
Life was tough enough to begin with, and then at the age of 6, KO was dealt an unimaginable blow.
We went to church on Saturdays, and, it was me, my dad, my older brother, my older sister and my little sister and my mom. And my dad used to ride motorcycles, and what he would do, he would drop off me and my 2 older siblings first, and then go back and get my mom and my little sister, and, because we all couldn't fit on the motorcycle. So one Saturday, he drops us off, and he's taking longer because we would get there and then wait for them, and then we all go to church, and he's taking like longer than usual. And then that's when, they called us back home. Some relatives came and picked us up, and, they told us that our dad had gotten, hit by an 18-wheeler.
As tragic as his father's death was, it wasn't the end of heartbreak for Ko.
My mom had already been dealing with breast cancer. She had to get one taken off, and, she had been dealing with that for a while. And 11 months later, she goes to the hospital. After some days in the hospital, they call my siblings, have like a meeting, and, they tell us that our mom is gone.
How tough is that when you're that young to deal with?
It was very sad times, like as a kid, like you haven't even grown up yet. Your parents don't get to see you really achieve anything. So we were pretty down, It was tough.
Ko and his siblings went to go live with his aunt on his mom's side in Lagos, one of Nigeria's major cities. All the while, an aunt on his dad's side of the family, living in America, was working to get he and his siblings visas so they could come to the United States. It was a long wait, 5 years, which Ko symbolizes with the number he wears now. But after all that time,
I came here 4 days after my 13th birthday, October 11th, 2012. People always ask me, like, when you left, like, were you sad? Because a lot of people, when they leave home, they're like super sad. But me, I told them, like, I wasn't really sad to leave because, like, my parents were gone. Wasn't really leaving anything behind, just like looking forward to a new beginning. So that's really what, I was happy to leave. Felt like we needed that.
Part of that new beginning was an introduction to a new sport. Ko ran track and played soccer in Nigeria, which led to an interesting first interaction with the basketball.
Well, I was in the backyard, they had like a basketball there, and I was kicking it because I've been playing soccer, football my whole life. And then my older cousin, Solomon, who had been working with his little sister, my little cousin, he takes me under his wing and, he starts training me in basketball, and I was just picking up everything fast.
Ko was just 5'4" and 80 pounds when he came to the United States, but he was on a mission from the jump.
Nah, it was serious from the jump, because when I was watching American shows, I told myself, like, when I come to America, I'm gonna play football, I'm gonna play basketball. And, I had made up my mind that that's what I was gonna, do.
His high school career was uneven, but by the time he graduated, Ko was 6'6", though with no college offers. He had to take matters into his own hands.
After my senior year, I was working in the summer, and then I go to a showcase, an unsigned senior showcase.
Ko eventually landed at Southwestern Assemblies of God, an NAIA in Texas.
And I did go in, I had the stuff I do here, effort plays, everybody loved me, block shots, just, played hard out there.
After that year, things were looking up for Ko. He had a visit lined up with St. Bonaventure in New York, but more bad luck struck.
Fractured my ankle, and I sit out for a year. I wasn't in school at all. I was just at Home Depot working, and then I was working out on my own.
Down, but not out, Ko used an unlikely connection. He got in touch with Mike Schmitz, then a draft analyst at ESPN, who's now the assistant GM for the Portland Trailblazers.
He connects me to UTA, and UTA talked to them, and they're like, we're looking for an athletic rim protector. I'm like, that's what I do. And they're like, it's between you and this guy from Fresno State, and we have one offer. And then to get into UTA, because I had been out from school, I had to take 2 classes in like a JUCO. I had to take 2 classes and get A's in them to get accepted into UTA. So I'm working 40 hours a week at Home Depot. As soon as I get back home, I'm on my laptop. Like, it was stressful times. And, I ended up getting the A's, but UTA was like, we didn't know if you were gonna pull through. So we went ahead and gave the offer to this guy. I was like, man, they're like, but we still want you to come along. You'll be a walk-on, but we won't treat you like a walk-on. You have workouts, all that stuff. So I end up, walking on at UT Arlington.
The initial transition to the physicality of D1 ball was rough, but Ko eventually made his mark, finishing that first season with 3.3 blocks per game, which would have been good for 3rd in the nation if he played enough games. He went back for a second season with Arlington, then hit the transfer portal, and his recruitment was aided by something you might not expect.
What role did TikTok play in your recruitment?
Huge role. So I get to UT Arlington, right? I have 500 followers on Instagram, right? And then, so I'm like, all right, one day I just decided, okay, I'm gonna upload one video, you know, cause I do all these dunks and stuff. I jump pretty high and I never posted really. So I post one video on TikTok and, you know, it has like 8,000 views, which is crazy cause I don't really have any followers. I'm like, okay, I kind of did good. The same day I post another one, 12,000. And I post a third one, like 14, 15,000. I'm like, oh. And then, you know, as the year goes on, I post more crazy videos. And then I finally touched the top backboard, you know. And then when I posted that, oh, it was over with.
You know, actually I found him because of Lester Quinones. Lester and he have the same agent. They were working out together out in California. And I saw a video of KO, and I asked Lester about him. He said he's a really good player.
And then one day, me and Les are coming out of Shake Shack. And, you know, I'm going in the car, and a number of calls, you know, I had to answer every phone call because I'm in the portal. It is 90% of the time it's a coach. And it's Coach Penny. And you could ask him, I tell him, I was like, this is crazy. I use you in 2K all the time. That's the first thing I told him when he got on the phone. He was like, man, he was just like laughing. I was like, man, this is crazy. I can't believe I'm talking to Penny Hardaway right now.
From using Penny in video games to pulling off video game dunks under him, KO thinks he's exactly where he belongs.
It's no coincidence that, you know, I lose my parents, come to America, I end up in a family that, you know, most of them play basketball. And then I just start growing out of nowhere. Like, you know, I'm meant to do something big with basketball. So I always knew I was gonna play, you know, and like if you ask people around me, I'm always telling them, like, I set goals, like I'm never satisfied. And, you know, I went to an NAIA, I'm like, I'm gonna play D1. I go to D1, I said, I wanna go even higher. And I look, I'm at Memphis, you know.
Is it crazy to think about everything you've been through and how it's landed you here at this program?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Like a lot of people who know me, they still in the comments, you know, they tell me to this day, like, bro, your story is crazy. Like, you know, nobody's doing that. Walk on. Home Depot while doing schoolwork, all types of madness. And now we're here.
If your parents knew what you've become, what do you think they would say to you?
They'll be very proud. You know, that's kind of like the hardest part about, you know, all of this. Like, you know, my parents, you know, unlike most people, you know, my parents didn't get to see me achieve any of this, you know. You know, that's kind of like the hardest part about it. Like, they didn't get to, you know, see me do any of this.
Two more games on tap this week. Home against Wichita State, on the road at Cincinnati. We'll preview both of them after the break.
You're watching The Penny Hardaway Show, presented by Cook's Pest Control. Let's take a look at the AutoZone road ahead.
Coach, interesting week. One game at home, Wichita State. The others at Cincinnati, maybe the second toughest place to play in the league.
Yeah, it is. You know, first at home, Wichita, you know, we've had some success against Wichita. We've just played hard because they forced you to play hard. You know, when they came from the other conference to our conference, everything was about just being grimy and just that grit and grind, and they play you for 40 minutes with pressure, and we had to match that, and we ended up like overtaking, to me, that rivalry, but you can never take those guys lightly. Well coached, they're gonna play hard. Cincinnati, you know how I feel about Cincinnati. They've been beating up on me since I was in college, and it's always been that rivalry of hate, and now that they have Landers, you know, they really want to get revenge because we beat them 2 times last year.
So is that Cincinnati rivalry, is it personal in a sense for you?
It's always personal with Cincinnati. It just is what it is. It's just one of those great rivalries in basketball that will always be in my mind every time we play those guys.
That's a tough place to play.
That is a tough place to play. I've been thankful enough to win there the last 2 seasons, which is great.
That was tonight's AutoZone Road Ahead. AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination and official sponsor of Tiger Athletics. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
The Shoe in Cincinnati, one of the great college basketball atmospheres. We'll put a bow on this one in just a minute.
You're watching The Penny Hardaway Show, presented by Cook's Pest Control.
Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again late night next Sunday, right here.
The Penny Hardaway Show is presented by Cook's Pest Control. You don't have to live with pests. Call Cook's Pest Control and get a free quote today. Conway Services, the official HVAC partner of Tiger Athletics. Tennessee Lottery, turning dollars into dreams. Tiger Bookstore, the official merchandiser of Tiger Athletics. AutoZone, when you've got car trouble, you want help from number one. So if you've got a battery problem, head to AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone, and is supported by your Memphis area Toyota dealers.
This copyrighted telecast is an exclusive presentation of Learfield under the broadcasting rights granted by the University of Memphis. Reuse of this presentation is prohibited without the expressed written consent of the University of Memphis and Learfield.